I came to Denver when I first got out of service, and I was, and I was married. I had been married about a year, and we were in Massachusetts, and the question of what do you do now? It was time to start thinking about where do I go next, and we decided we'd take a trip, and that we would go to Denver, and before we made any decision, and then we would go to Portland, and we'd check Portland out, and then we'd go to Seattle before we got committed in any important ways. And so that's how I came to Denver. And so we arrived by car. There was Nancy and myself, and Nancy was pregnant at the time, and there was a little dog, and we ended up at Fitzsimmons Motor Court and spent about 30 days here. And I looked for a job, and well, the point of the matter is I never got to Portland, and I never got to Seattle, and went back and got discharged and came back out, and I've been here ever since. Denver was right in the middle of a pretty good oil boom then, and that was sort of part of it. You know, here was a place that I loved to be, and had all of those wonderful things that I enjoyed. Plus, you know, there was a very significant oil industry that was active at the time. You know, I spent a lot of time, you know, in terms of my free time in hunting and fishing, and the oil business in some strange way, you know, really attracted. You know, you're looking for something. It doesn't fly and it doesn't walk. It did at one time, but it's very elusive. I really started as a scout, and a scout is kind of a precursor to being a landman. You know, at that time, you know, there was a regular boom going on, and so we had a lot of people out there doing things because there was a lot of activity, and I had developed some friends and acquaintances, and we thought it'd be a good idea to put together a small company and do some of these things ourselves, and we did. The reality was that, you know, it was a wonderful stroke of fortune, and it was a huge oil field, and I was fortunate enough to be the person that drilled those wells, that discovered it. I think really it could have happened to anyone, and so there really, there was no genius. I worked hard, and I loved what I did. And looking for oil was, you know, an extension of all the things I like to do. In anything we do, you know, there's an awful lot of luck. And I think that sometimes in reviewing, you know, how good things happen to us, we have a tendency to kind of reinvent it, and we become very smart, and in that process, you know, luck is one of those things. You know, some people are lucky and some people aren't lucky. Some people have been born into a world that, like myself, you know, they've had, you know, good parents and a good environment and a good education and so forth. You know, some are not so lucky. I think that's the kind of thing we control, and I think we can make a lot of people luckier. I don't think you just sort of sally forth as an individual. It's sort of who you're with along the way, and those relationships that you build that in important ways really have enormous impact on the good things that happen. It's a long pull, and there are ups and downs, but it seems to me that a good part of success in business is just being there when things are right. And that means, yeah, to be a survivor, really. You know, I've always been a risk taker. But the trick is really to being a survivor. It changed, you know, my life. You know, it was an exciting experience, but it became very clear to me that, you know, that this good fortune, you know, really extended beyond, you know, my needs and so forth. And I sort of felt that there was I should become more involved in giving something away, because I had certainly more than I needed.